to Thrive Radio. I'm your host, Aimee Montgomery, entrepreneur and digital marketing agency owner. Today, my guest is Aimee Lamb. She's the founder of Made Simple Labs and the creator of a popular blog, PCOS Made Simple, with a mission to simplify the complexities of Polycystic Ovary Syndrome, which is PCOS. Aimee has developed a range of supplements and digital resources to help women manage their symptoms, improve their quality of life. In just 2 years, she has made a significant strides in this underdiagnosed and often misunderstood condition. Join us as we dive into Aimee's journey, her innovative products, and the incredible impact she's making in the world of women's health. Aimee, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm excited for our conversation today. I've actually been doing a little bit of research myself since we started talking. This is such, like you said, it's an ailment that is not talked about enough and a lot of people don't know about. What started your journey? What inspired you to create your blog, and what has been your journey so far?
Yeah, so I actually have PCOS myself, and this is something I've known since I was a teenager. Unfortunately, the condition usually gets diagnosed when people are trying to have children because it's always been looked at as a reproductive condition. But recent research is showing that finally showing that it's a whole body endocrine and metabolic condition, not just, oh, she can't have kids, now we need to look at it, which has been kind of women's health for a very long time. So I have PCOS, and my symptoms were minimal for most of my life, but then they started hitting me hard in my late 20s, which is a story for a lot of women. And very frustrated. I didn't know what was happening to me. I felt so tired all the time, depressed, could barely get through the workday. My hair was falling out, which was very scary. And I was gaining weight like crazy, even though I was walking 5 miles a day. I was living in New York City. And I would go to the gym, and I felt like I was eating decent food. And I went to the doctor, I went to the endocrinologist with no luck. And so finally, I decided to take matters into my own hands and started reading as much as possible about PCOS and where it comes from, what causes it. And I discovered something that apparently my doctors had always known, but they usually don't tell their patients this. And I think it would be pivotal if they did start doing that. But one of the 80%, approximately 80% or more women with PCOS are also insulin resistant, which means that the cells in your body are not, the insulin receptors of your cell are not able to intake the sugars from your bloodstream that the insulin is delivering to your cells. So sugar gives you energy. And if you're not getting energy, the sugar is not even being delivered. It's just sitting in your bloodstream, and then that gets converted into fat, which explains why women with PCOS have such a hard time with weight, very difficult to lose once they gain it. And it can be completely out of control if you don't know what's happening. And then also so I'm losing my train of thought. I'm trying not to be nervous. I was very frustrated that I had never been told this nearly 30 years that I had known about the condition. And so I decided to eat like I had type 2 diabetes, eat like I had insulin problems, and see if it worked. And sure enough, within 30 days, my symptoms started disappearing. I lost 10 pounds very quickly. My menstrual cycle was suddenly regular, and it had never been in my entire life. And I've had more energy. I was suddenly not as depressed as I was. And I realized that food had been the key all along. And so I was angry and frustrated with the medical community at the time because no one had ever bothered to tell me. And when I asked my OBGYN, how come this is never mentioned? And she said, oh, people usually don't really want to change their diet, so we don't bother.
Oh
And it's give us the option and trust your patients. Give us the information because we're smarter than you think. But the more I read and the more information I found, the more I realized how inaccessible the information is and how disjointed it is. And I was seeing, because I was looking at multiple sources, from Facebook groups to clinical research articles to articles on health.com. And a lot of it's written in a way that is not accessible to a lot of people, especially most people don't have a hobby of reading clinical research articles. I do. I love it.
Yeah,
There's always little Easter eggs that you find, and it tends to explain a lot. So I decided to start a blog that was going to take all of this information that I was learning from new research, from my own experiences, from my own experimentation with food and how it was affecting my body, and all of the things I was learning, and synthesize it into something that was extremely simple, extremely straightforward, and something that's accessible to anyone and also free, which was important to me because there are various websites that do this, but there's either paywalls or they're selling things that are $100, which not everybody can afford to pay $100 for information about their health.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Especially when you start to go out into the world of, what do you call it? Just the health, the nutritional, natural health, just trying to get help. It's like paying for the blood tests and all of that. It's like really high, where you can go out and order your own blood tests if you know which ones you need to do, right? And do it
yeah.
one at a time.
And then it's even a matter of being able to understand the results or having the time to look at the results
Yeah.
and understand them. And a lot of times also typing in PCOS diet into Google, diet culture can be really harmful.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's do keto, which is also, it can be can be very inflammatory. It can promote a lot of inflammation in your body if you're not, there's ways to do it. The keto community, I know there's ways to do it that's healthy, but a lot of people don't really know how. With PCOS, you can't eat fried cheese every day.
Yeah.
Chronic inflammation is a feature of PCOS that drives a lot of the symptoms along. It also, chronic inflammation worsens insulin resistance, worsens inflammation. So it's a vicious cycle. And also, we don't need to eat grilled chicken and steamed broccoli every day either.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like to think it's not changing what you eat with PCOS is not so much a diet as it is like the art of understanding your own body and what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I like that. So what are some of the common symptoms and challenges that you face when you have PCOS?
Sure. Yeah. So it's what I mentioned before. I was fatigued. So fatigue is a huge one. Weight gain as well, inability to lose weight, and male pattern baldness, and also facial hair growth, which is called hirsutism. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So a lot of times, yeah, women will grow a beard or have a thick mustache, which is really difficult emotionally for people because it's something that people see when they look at you and they meet you. Also, yeah, chronic inflammation, gut health is a really big problem. IBS is really common with women with PCOS as well as other gut issues. High cortisol levels. So the cortisol is the stress hormone. So very stressed out. Mood issues, ADHD is very common with women with PCOS. Often they're diagnosed with BPD or chronic depression or all kinds of things that are often misdiagnosed or properly diagnosed, but can be slightly alleviated by controlling other symptoms.
Do you know what the root causes of PCOS are?
So right now, the research community will say we don't know what causes it. It's a genetic condition, and recent research suggests it's epigenetic, which means you can carry the gene, but environmental factors might exacerbate it or bring it to the forefront, and then you start having all these symptoms. And also genetics, the epigenetic factor as well, when you're in the womb as well, there are environmental factors with your mother, for example, or what she's experienced at the time that can also influence the expression of that gene in your body. So there's no cause that they know that nobody said, okay, this is the cause of PCOS and this is how we solve the problem. But we do know that 100% of women with PCOS suffer from chronic inflammation, and about 80% of women with PCOS suffer from insulin resistance. And these two things can be addressed through either medication or through diet.
So interesting. It's interesting to hear the symptoms because I don't have PCOS, but I have a lot of those symptoms. But mine's multi-layered. My core, like my root ones are anemia. I had dysbiosis, which is like leaky gut. And I had high cortisol, and it was the blood sugar issues, but mine was hypoglycemia.
Mm-hmm.
So the cortisol and the hypoglycemia causes your immune system to be suppressed, right? So you get all kinds of junk. I cleaned up the dysbiosis and then finally started taking care of the anemia by supplement. But then also there were other vitamins, and I was gluten intolerant and all that kind of stuff. And I was eating really healthy for 5 years, stopped eating sugar, stopped eating the carbs, all of that kind of stuff, but still have chronic inflammation from gluten. And I didn't realize that if you just eat one little thing with gluten in it, if you're gluten intolerant, it causes inflammation for 7 months.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like I was so focused on the leaky gut and systemic candida and all this stuff because that's what I felt versus all the underlining things. And then when you start to talk about the immunity and stuff, there's all these different pieces. So it's really interesting because it's just interesting how similar a lot of the symptoms are. If I wasn't hypoglycemic, I think that I would, and know that's what I had, I'd be, oh, I probably have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it's funny because 20%, it's estimated about 20% of women worldwide, 18 to 20, they say worldwide, have PCOS, which is massive.
Yeah. Yeah, it is massive. Yeah, it's crazy. So you have a supplement. What makes it unique and how does it help women with PCOS? Are you still there?
Oh, I see you now. Yeah, it was frozen for a second.
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of issues with women's health and conditions that the majority of women get, as opposed to men, that people are just, you don't know why this happens. We have no idea. But the fact is that women were not legally allowed to participate in clinical research trials until 1993. I believe it was from the 70s, mid to late 70s until 1993. So they were only studying male bodies. So issues with hormones, including cortisol, including estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, and every hormone that is in our body, it reacts differently in women's bodies. But there's so little knowledge on it because we have a 20, 30-year gap where only men's bodies were studied and not women's. So we're catching up now, but and I think in the past 10 years, there's been a lot more focus on women's health than there has been, but we're getting there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the supplement that you carry, why it's unique and how it helps women with PCOS.
Sure. So I decided to start Made Simple Labs, which I felt was a natural offshoot from my blog, because I was working in supplement product development and I saw the kind of stuff that goes into supplements that you find on Amazon or wherever. There's not a lot of regulations in this industry. So you have all kinds of fillers and everything that are not particularly good for you, even though the ingredients might be good for you. If you're buying supplements, always buy third-party tested supplements, always. And do look at the filler ingredients as well to make sure you don't have any reactions to those. But I was working in that industry and I felt I wanted to make a line of supplements for women with PCOS or women in general that are clean and are effective, but also at a price that is affordable. That's a big thing. You'll notice that the information that I share in my blog about PCOS is I wanted it to be free. And I want supplements that will treat PCOS or help treat PCOS to be as low cost as they possibly can, but still be effective and clean and with high quality ingredients. Because there's Ositol, for example, it's expensive. It's very expensive. I think you buy a pack of Ositol and it's $80. There are some websites targeted towards PCOS and they're selling supplements for $60 a bottle. A lot of people I can't afford $60 a bottle per month. Right? So that was my goal. My supplement, the first supplement that I have right now, and the only one that is currently active, is called Blood Sugar Balance. The main ingredients are chromium and berberine, but it also has ingredients targeted towards lowering inflammation as well. For example, garlic is in there. I've got it right here. We've got fenugreek, which is powerhouse with blood sugar issues. Hymnema leaf, which helps with sugar cravings. It helps you reduce sugar cravings. Ginseng, button mushroom, turmeric, and black pepper, of course, which helps the turmeric, activates the turmeric, basil, garlic, yeah, and some essential vitamins that help with metabolism and metabolic function. So this is my first supplement. And I wanted to start with this one because I felt this was the easiest one to start with because I didn't have to buy volume of 2, 3, 4,000 bottles to start off. But my plan that I have for products that I want to bring in that are more targeted towards people with PCOS, like inositol, for example, I have those on deck, and I'm ready to put them on the market as soon as I'm able to generate the capital to get them to market.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about your journey. You launched your supplement on Amazon and you're working on Walmart. What are some of the issues that you faced, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, so my journey with Amazon, I don't like to say it's a failure because I haven't given up yet. Supplements is a very competitive category. And the reason why I wanted to start with my blood sugar supplement was because of the low MOQs and the low investment to get this to the market. My issues with Amazon it was actually fairly easy to get set up, and it was fairly easy to get approved because the supplement category does have some controls. Not everybody can just put some random supplement on there. So you do have to provide paperwork to make sure you're producing it in an FDA approved facility and things like that, which was pretty smooth for me because I am producing in a facility in the United States. But the biggest issue, especially in this category, was making sure that the product stays active, because Amazon they kind of cycle through products, and it's an automated system where they'll notice a word that their team decided to flag, and then you had that word in your listings. Your listing gets flagged and taken down, and then you have to deal with their very difficult seller support to try to get that reinstated.
Yeah, the seller support is horrible.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was the biggest issue. The second most difficult thing, I think, was with Amazon. It was the learning curve to understand how it works was not difficult, but understanding it's a high investment to try to get your product to generate enough sales that you start getting reviews so you start moving up on the product pages. So I think I lost a lot of money there. And that's one of the reasons I'm saying failed for now, but not forever, because I'm now, as you just mentioned, I'm now on Walmart.com as well. And Walmart was actually, I had a hard time getting my account set up with them because I live in Mexico, and they don't want accounts set up from outside the US border. So my email address was flagged. But I was at a trade show in Chicago a few months ago, and I went right up to their booth and said, "Hey, I have a product. I'm trying to put it on Walmart.com." And the guy over there, he called the manager of that category, and within a day, I had my account on Walmart. And so far, their seller support has been much better than Amazon, much easier to deal with. But I don't want to say too much about Walmart yet because I haven't been too deep yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just starting out. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Amazon. And it is such a journey. And like with the Amazon thing, I think too, unless you have a ton of other products in there, it makes it difficult. If you're just trying to sell one product, and it hurts your store if you run out of stock and you don't have any other things selling. And yeah, there's all those isms that Amazon puts on you. So yeah, kudos to you for even going out there and launching.
Yeah. And I don't want to give up. Something I've actually recently decided I'm going to try to, just to kind of also keep my Amazon store active. I'm going to take some of the items and the information that I have on my website and put it into a digital download and have that available through Amazon and as well, to keep it active, make sure I'm not just forgetting about my Amazon account. And
yeah. And it's also great to resell stuff. You can actually sell used things. I would actually, when I first started learning about Amazon, I would resell stuff, and I would go to estate sales. I'd get things that were not opened, wedding gifts, electronics, if they've not been opened, because you could scan it with the Amazon app and it'll tell you how much you can make.
Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting.
Right? So you just go in and you scan, and like vases and like all of that kind of stuff, electronics, and then like wedding type gifts. I'd find that I would get the biggest ROI, and it's very inexpensive to go into an estate sale. Now, if because you're doing like one, typically Amazon does not have big long lists of regulations as long as you stay in like home goods and you're not selling anything that you're not selling a supplement, you're selling just other products that aren't a special category. They tend to not want you don't need like a big itemized list or anything. So stay away from clothing. But yeah, so that's a little tip. I've done everything from selling Halloween costumes, although that got a little bit, I started getting notifications where they wanted lists of invoices and all that kind of stuff. But for a while, Halloween costumes were great because every parent wanted them at the last second, right? And then you just double the price. But anyway, yeah, I love Amazon for a lot of different reasons, but they can be really frustrating as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the diet, because we touched on this a little bit, but what are some of the dietary changes that you recommend? Or do individuals have to go out and say, I don't know, get a gut test or something and figure out what they need to eat for them specifically? Or is it that complicated?
Yeah, no, it's actually really not complicated at all. And what I share on my website is what worked for me. And if you're insulin resistant, it can only help. A lot of people some people with PCOS have other issues, like I mentioned, IBS, or they have, conditions that come along with PCOS that might not be able to be treated just by eating a certain way that I have on my website. So what I recommend on my website is eating low glycemic. So that's basically, there's something called the glycemic index, and it ranges from 0, which are items like beef, for example, which have no carbohydrates in them. It's, that's not even on the glycemic index at all. But when you get into pasta or bread or grains or things with sugar, those will have a rating on the glycemic index, and that kind of indicates how much a certain food item will affect your blood sugar levels and how quickly. For example, you can eat a slice of white bread from the supermarket, Wonder Bread, and that's going to spike your blood sugar very quickly because that kind of food will digest quickly in your body. And the sugars from those carbohydrates, because carbohydrates break down into sugars, those will go right into your bloodstream. Your cells will be completely overwhelmed, and the insulin can't deliver the sugar to your cells. And so your body, it just happens so quickly. It's overwhelmed. It doesn't know what to do. And it says, you know what, let's store that for later. And that's where the weight gain comes in, because it's just storing that sugar as fat. So what I recommend on my website is that people take, for the first few months at least, eat only items below 55 on the glycemic index. Personally, I don't think that eliminating things completely, eliminating entire food groups and saying I can never eat this again if I want to maintain this weight, or eating, I don't think that works. But I do think putting a cap on it, hey, I can do this for 1 month. I can do this for 3 months. Give your body time to repair your insulin receptors on your cells. Give your body time to improve your insulin sensitivity. Slow down the amount of sugar that's going into your bloodstream every day after every single meal. And it's like giving your cells time to breathe. And that's the goal of the first few months. So it can be difficult. For me, it was pretty difficult. I was also experimenting. I didn't know anything when I first started this. I was like, let's see if this works. And then I started out saying, I'm not going to eat carbs or sugar, but no, you need carbs for energy. There are plenty of low glycemic carbs like bulgur and farro, for example, which is one of my favorites. It's delicious. All kinds of grains that can fill you up, make you feel full after your meals, gives you energy that keeps you going. So you don't have to completely eliminate entire food groups. And then after that, after a few months, when you start seeing results, you either start losing weight, or you have more energy, or you just feel better overall, or your menstrual cycle regulates, then I think, in my experience, I think because my insulin resistance, I caught it when I wasn't too far gone. I think I caught it within a couple of years of it really getting bad. Probably I ate 100% low glycemic for probably 3 to 6 months. And then I loosened up a little bit, and then loosened up a little more. And for 4 years, I was eating 80%, I would say, under 55 on the glycemic index, sometimes medium glycemic foods. And now my insulin sensitivity is really good. I got it tested and the doctor's, are you sure you have PCOS? And I'm like, I do, I still do, but there's no symptoms, there's nothing. And that's really the basis of it. And then I also go into how to control inflammation and how to reduce that, how to improve gut health. And recently also I've been reading a little bit about the influence of the pancreas on PCOS and on insulin resistance, which is something I learned. I should have read this a long time ago, but that also has a lot to do with gut health, like digestive enzymes are, don't quote me on this, either made or I'm learning about this still, but digestive enzymes and digestion has a lot to do with the pancreas, which also influences your digestion, which can influence inflammation, which can influence your insulin issues. So I'm learning everything's connected. Everything's connected.
Yeah.
It's whole body treatment, whole body condition.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And it seems like in this space and in autoimmune space and all of that, there's so, it's like peeling an onion, and everyone's different because we all have our own little dealies.
Exactly.
Our own little issues.
Yeah.
So it might be very similar and very close, right?
And that's something that I also mention a lot in almost every single article that I write, every blog article that I write, that you have to experiment with your body. You have to see what works. For example, a lot of women with PCOS cannot eat dairy. Dairy is extremely inflammatory. A lot of times acne is like adult cystic acne is a sign that there's a lot of issues with inflammation, and dairy plays a huge role in that. I have no problem with dairy. So I don't want to go around telling women with PCOS, yeah, no problem, eat a bunch of cheese.
Yeah.
But you got to find what's okay for your body. And that's why with the 3 months of eliminating anything over 55 in the glycemic index and anything inflammatory, and then you can reintroduce stuff and see what works, see how you feel after every meal, take note of it, see how you feel in your body. Do you feel exhausted? Maybe you ate something, maybe there was something that happened that shook up your body a little bit, but it's personal. It's very personal to every single person. And I just want to tell people what I've done, what works, and how they can do it if they want to try it too.
Love that. So what do you think has been your truth that's gotten you this far in your journey?
Your
truth. What is your truth that has gotten you this far in your journey?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So what's the foundational thing that you believe that has caused you to continue on and not give up?
Oh yeah. Okay. I think the thing that's kept me going on with this is that there is still not enough information. I read the PCOS subreddit a lot because a lot of women, there's every single day, there's people who are either saying, I just got diagnosed with PCOS, I just got back from my doctor and they told me I'm infertile, which is not true. It's 100% not true. Plenty of women with PCOS are having children. It is no longer only considered a reproductive issue because it's not a reproductive issue. It's a metabolic and endocrine issue, which can have a side effect of infertility if it's not treated. But telling 20-year-old girls that they're infertile leads to a lot of issues and a lot of heartache for no reason. People are coming in and saying, my doctor told me to lose weight and I don't know how. I've been trying for years. And they're so frustrated and they're growing a beard and they're losing their hair and they're exhausted and they're depressed. And the amount of misinformation that's coming from people, that the medical community, and I don't want to talk bad about them because I know that they're doing their best with what they have and what they learned at school and what was given to them. But I feel that there is a lot of work that needs to be done to educate people on what drives the symptoms of PCOS and how to deal with them in your daily life, and not just say lose weight. If you have PCOS, you can't just lose weight. You can't just do that. You have to understand why your body is holding on to it. Why did you gain the weight in the first place? What caused that? It's not because you just sit around all day and eat bun, on the couch. It's because your body has some processes that are a little bit wonky that need to be treated in a way that treat the root of it, not just with you're infertile, you're fat, get out of here and take this medicine. No, explain it. Also learn. Yeah. Doctors don't get a lot of time. OBGYNs don't get a lot of time in medical school focused on PCOS. And when 20% of your patients are 18 or whatever the percentage is agreed upon now, if 20% of your patients have this condition, it's important. People are suffering. And this is what's kept me going, because I don't think we're there yet. And I want to share as much information as I can. And I'm constantly educating myself, like I mentioned, about the pancreas. I didn't know anything about that. This is something in the last few months, and I'm excited about it. And I want to read as much as I can about it and then share the information. And this is an ongoing thing of mine. I want to read, I want to update myself, I want to share, so that the lack of education, the huge gap in women's health can have a little bit more filled, and people will be less confused, hopefully, and have a happier, healthier life as well.
Yeah, definitely. If you were able to give yourself one piece of advice when you first started out in your journey, what would it be?
I would say with the supplements, I would tell myself to wait a little bit. I think I jumped into it because I had a gap in my employment, and I said, you know what, I'm going to use this time to dive into a big project. I think it's supplements specifically. I think it's something that needs to be started with a little more capital, for sure, because it is a very big investment. I think if I had more capital, I could have been a little more successful, especially on Amazon. I could have launched a few products at once. Like you mentioned, having just one product on there, their algorithms like, who are you? What is its brand? But I think with a little more capital, I could have been successful. So I'm not putting this on the shelf completely. I've got my inventory and I'm chugging through it slowly but surely on Walmart. I'm hopefully gonna activate my listing again on Amazon. It's been off for a few months, but yeah, I'm not giving up entirely. I'm just putting it aside for now, continuing to work on my blog, continuing to find new research, continuing to share information, and think up new products as well. And then when I generate more capital in my day job, I'll be able to get back into it.
Love that. So if there are individuals that would love to work with you, love to check out your products, your blog, what's the best way to contact you?
I think the best way to contact me would be either through the contact form on PCOSmadesimple.com. That's the most straightforward, or they can contact me directly by email, Aimee Lamb, AIMELAMB @gmail.com. I check it every day. And I honestly, at the end of my blog articles too, I'm like, if you have any questions, you reach out to me. If something's confusing, you reach out to me. This is a passion of mine. I want you to understand this, and I want to know what you're thinking. So that's something I would love if I hear from people about this. And I love to talk about this. So
I'll include all your links down below as well. And Aimee, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your expertise.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, definitely. If you're listening, you want more information about this podcast, to get Aimee's links, you can visit acalltothrive.com. Thank you, everyone.